and welcome to our video today. So today I'm going to just show you some functional exercises that will help with some common postural problems that we may encounter. So the first thing I want you to do is find a mirror somewhere where you can stand. So if I just say stand up tall, I want you to just stand there, and then I want you to look at your hands. So are your hands, can you see the back of your hand, or are your hands off to the side? So that is a good indication right off the bat. If your hands are this way, to where your hands are in front of your thighs, you can see your knuckles here, then that lets you know that you have that forward rolled posture, those internally rotated shoulders. We want to bring those shoulders back, and that should bring our hands right outside our thighs. So when we stand up tall in a neutral position, you should basically only see your thumbs, the side of your hand, and maybe that first knuckle. They should be off to the side. Now, if you stand like that, it might feel a little bit awkward because we're so used to standing like this that feels awkward, right? So in order to help train that, I want you to find a wall, and I'm going to show you how you can kind of do this on the floor as well. So, did you ever make snow angels when you were little? Maybe even when you were big. You lay down on the ground, right? And you just bring those arms around. We bring them up and we bring them down. So the reason we do this against the wall is because it gives you a frame of reference to try to keep the backs of those hands on the wall. So what you might find is you get to about here, and then our shoulders don't want to let us rotate through that. So we start to just bend like this in order to bring our hands around. Or what we find is they come out here, that we can't keep them back and against the wall to where we bring those hands up. Now, of course, as you get right here, there's a lot of tension right there, but hopefully you still are able to bring it up to where the shoulders will track appropriately. So this is just snow angels. You can do it on the wall or on the floor. And when I show you the neutral 90-90 in a minute, I'll kind of show you how that can work. So we just bring that up and down. So if you do that like about 15 times, do it every day, okay? If you only do it 3 times a week, it's better than once a week. But if you do these functional exercises every day, especially if you have those specific deviations, you will see a remarked improvement on your ability to move those shoulders through that range of motion. So another one is a scapular retraction. So when you're standing, your feet are just a couple of inches from the wall. Your bum is touching the wall, your shoulders are touching the wall, and you want your head to touch the wall. What you don't want to do is have to tip your head back like this to touch the wall, okay? So we're trying to stand in that nice, tall posture with all of those things against the wall, kind of like you're under arrest, right? Flat against the wall, okay? Feeling those shoulders pull back. If the head won't go back without you tipping it back, you just stand as tall as you can and work on trying to pull that chin back. And as you keep working on those shoulders, hopefully eventually you can get that rounded kyphosis out of the top part of the back in order to be able to get that back and maintain that posture. So from here, you make a Y. So we're making a Y, like YMCA, right? Now you're going to pull the elbows down towards your back. As you pull down right here, you notice how my left hand wants to actually pull away from the wall some, because I've got a little bit of a catch right there where it doesn't want to stay there. But the point is that I'm bringing those elbows in towards my back. So I'm retracting the scapula. It kind of makes like a J. It comes down like this through those shoulder blades. So you just push it back up, and we pull down, and we push back up. Again, this can be done laying flat on the floor as well. That gravity of laying flat kind of helps to keep those hands back like they're supposed to, trying to keep those hands against the wall. As they come down about here, your shoulders will kind of pull out a little bit, and so you might notice that your wrists pull up a little bit. That's okay. You don't want to like force it, but what we're trying to do is pull those elbows down, feel that retraction through the shoulder blades right here. So again, try to do 12 to 15 repetitions of that. Just up like a Y and pull it down, trying to keep those hands towards the wall, or if you're laying on the floor when I show you that in just a moment, that can work as well. So another point where we have is because we have this forward rolled posture, these muscles across the front are shortened. The ones in the back are lengthened. So that's why we want to train the muscles in the back to be stronger to help pull that back. But on the same token, we've got to lengthen across the front. So you can do what's called a doorway stretch. So I don't have a doorway right here. I don't want to make you dizzy as I run around the house. But if you stand in a doorway to where you can put your hands on either side of the door frame, you're just going to step forward through that door frame to where it pulls those shoulders back. Again, everything you do gently. So you're not going to pull hard. You're not pushing forcefully through that. You're just leaning as you step through. So if I do from the side here, as I step through, you'll feel those shoulder blades start to pull back a little bit. And you just hold for about 20 to 30 seconds, okay? 20 seconds is the magic number. If you hold something for 5 seconds, even 10 seconds, 15 seconds, you don't really give the body enough time to adjust, especially because if it's a little bit intense, we tend to hold our breath. When we hold our breath, that signals stress, and so all of the muscles contract. So when we come into a stretch, we've got to give our body a few seconds to kind of relax and go, okay, I'm all right. Let's just breathe through this and relax. So then as you start to relax, then you use that next 10 to 15 seconds to let the muscles stretch, okay? If you can hold longer, it's even better, okay? But 20 seconds, remember that's the magic number. You've got to hold these stretches for at least 20 seconds. So that is a doorway stretch, okay? The other one I'm going to show you will be a little bit hard to see. I'll show you kind of standing forward and then I'm going to do it against the wall. It's a forearm stretch. So you're going to take the fingers and they're facing backwards. So if you open up the palm and you place your palm on the wall, okay? Then you're just going to twist forward into that shoulder a little bit. As you do that, you're going to feel that stretch along your forearm. Hopefully, you can eventually get to where you can stretch through the shoulder. So as your hand is on the wall and you're stretching out through this shoulder, you're stretching all through the forearm here and eventually, hopefully, up here into that anterior deltoid, into that shoulder where it inserts in the pectoral muscles here so that we get that opening to where we can keep those shoulders back and they don't want to keep retracting and coming up here forward in the front, okay? So again, you'll do 20 seconds on each side. So you'd hold on the right, and then you would do it on the left and hold on the left. So the fingers are facing backwards. Your palm is as much against the wall as you can. Some people have restriction in the wrist, so they have a hard time actually putting the wrist all the way down. So you just want to be careful and go as much as you can so that you can get that stretch along the forearm and into the front part of the shoulder right here, okay? So that will help open that. So a lot of us have issues with our back, right? Even when we're sitting, a lot of times we're like, why is my back aching, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you what's called a neutral 90-90. You just can use the couch, you can use a chair. If you have a stability ball, you can use a stability ball. Anything where you can get your knees at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to lay down on the floor here so that you can see that. As you lay down on the floor, you just bring your legs up. So you notice how my knees are at a 90-degree bend. You should notice that as soon as you lay down into this position, it tips the pelvis and your back is in a neutral position and it is very relaxing. You just let the legs relax so they're laying on top of whatever it is that you're using. So if you're doing it in your bed, you might need to pile up some pillows if you've got enough pillows on your bed. My husband always complains about all the pillows I have, but you could pile those up or someone could help you pile them up and you could lay there on your bed if that's a better option as well. So once you're in this neutral position, there are so many exercises you can do because the rest of your body is anatomically correct at this point. Your pelvis is tipped so that your back is in a nice neutral position. Your shoulders are going to lay as flat as they're going to at that point in time anyways, because gravity will help to open them. So again, those snow angels we did, remember on the wall? You could do it right here on the floor. So you bring those hands up and down. Again, just trying to keep those hands, the back of your hands, on the floor, okay? Another thing I want you to do is you bring your hands by your side with your thumbs facing up, okay? Now you're just going to take your hands straight overhead and touch your thumbs to the floor. This helps us, again, to keep the shoulders tracking appropriately. So if you come up and you're maybe about here and you notice your palms start to turn, that you have a hard time keeping those thumbs pointed towards the floor, that's that deviation in the shoulder where the shoulder is not wanting to move correctly through the joint. So as you keep practicing, just taking those thumbs and you bring it straight overhead to touch the thumbs down, and then bring the hands back so the back part of your hand where your pinky is would touch the floor. Your thumbs are still pointed up. And then you just bring those hands back up. Again, shooting to do about 12 repetitions of this. In this neutral 90-90 position, nice and relaxed through the back, okay? Same thing with that Y. So if you had your hands up in the Y and you pull those elbows down, as you do that, you should feel your chest kind of lift up. As the shoulder blades retract, they kind of push out, and you'll feel that lift through the back. That's how you know that you're activating through that shoulder blade. You feel that push up right when you get retracted down here. Notice this, see this, my left hand? I can't keep my left hand all the way on the floor. That's okay, you might notice that as well. Your hand might be all the way up here. That as you pull that down and retracting that shoulder blade, that you've got some restriction there that doesn't allow it to fall all the way open, and that's okay. So just pulling down into that for that scapular retraction. Right here, you could work a little bit through your glutes. So as you press down through your heels, you can just press up. You'll feel the hamstrings working. I think if you remember, or if you watched my exercise video with the stability ball, we did this on the stability ball where you push down through the heels. This is more stable because that chair is not moving around. So you can just press up. You feel your shoulders working as they stabilize up here. The glutes and the hamstrings are all working hard to lift up. Great strength work for your back. Just lifting up. You can hold for 1 or 2 seconds and lower it back down. Okay? Let's see. Make sure there's not anything else I need you to do while you're down here on the floor. Well, one thing you can add, I think I have only one weight here, but you could do a chest press while you're laying here on the floor. So again, your back is nice and neutral. Everything is supported. So if you add those hand weights, you could use one and just press up and down from the chest right here to work that chest. Pressing up and down. Now you notice I'm coming from my chest, not up here in front of my face, okay? So your elbows are down by your side, the weight is right here. So whether you're holding 2 weights or 1, so if I've got 2 weights, just pressing up and down, okay? So a great way to be able to work your chest a little bit more, especially if you don't have a weight bench. Like I have a weight bench here, so I can, lay on the weight bench to do a press. But a lot of us don't have that, so you can lay down in this neutral 90-90 position and be able to effectively work from there. And a great job there, okay? All right, so let me move this chair here, and let me see, I got my list here. All right. Oh, okay, I forgot, I should have stayed down on the floor. So I'm going to show you some stuff for your back. So let me move this chair out of the way. So again, we have that neutral 90-90 position. I'm going to adjust this camera just a tiny bit here because with on the floor, it's kind of hard to see. So get it close up there. There you go. Let's just tip that down just a little bit. All right. So when you're laying in bed, you can do a good majority of these. So we're right here where those knees are bent. You're just going to pull your knees up over top of your chest. You're going to take those arms out wide like a T, and then you're just going to rotate through the legs. So just take the legs and rotate them over. Let the feet fall to the floor, and then you'll feel that twist there through the back. So this is good for trying to get that mobility through the spine, but also releasing the tension in the lower back, or what's called your quadratus lumborum. So the goal is to keep your shoulders on the floor. We don't want those shoulders to roll up. So you'll feel a bit of a stretch along that back shoulder if it's really tight, okay? And over time, as you do this, hopefully you'll get to where those legs will just kind of roll right down over, you know, pretty close to the floor, okay? So again, just laying here, I do this stretch in the morning before I even get out of bed. I pull my legs, kind of squeeze my legs up, and then just let them roll over, relax through the back. You know, take like 2 minutes, you know, do 45 seconds or so on each side and just put a little squeeze in between. And then it really helps to get some good mobility through the spine. So once you've held on that one side for about at least 20 seconds, remember, but again, if we can hold closer to 30 or 45 seconds, especially with these bigger muscle groups like your back, it's a little bit better. It's actually a lot a bit better. Here we go. So then you would just roll those legs back to the center. I just kind of squeeze in right here, just kind of neutralize. So if you kind of roll back and forth, that will neutralize your back. Put those hands back out, and then you're just gonna roll to the opposite side, okay? And you might notice like my back just popped, cracked. So sometimes when your back is a little bit out, that just this motion of rolling side to side will actually kind of put your spine back in alignment. Unless you've got some big issues with your back, like if you've got pins in your back, if you've had some spinal surgery or whatever, you would want to check with your doctor before doing these exercises, okay? But if you don't, and it's just general muscle soreness, these are really good for your back. So again, you just let the feet fall to the floor, and then the knees over time, hopefully gradually will get to where they come to the floor as well. So I'm going to roll that back to the center, kind of neutralize through my back here. Now you're going to lay on your side for this one. While you're laying on your side, you can be down like this. You can lift up on your head, whichever you want. Actually, no, we're gonna do a book opener first. So you're gonna take your arms like this, like you have a book in your hand. Your legs are gonna stay here, okay? You're just going to open through the top part of your body and try to lay your shoulders back, okay? So it's very similar to what we just did, but we're twisting through the top half of the body instead of the bottom half. So those legs are already down on the floor, and we're just opening up, trying to get some movement through the thoracic spine, which is the top part of your spine. You have the lumbar spine, which is your lower back, and then the thoracic spine, which is the upper back. So you would hold that. And then I usually do it twice on each side because you'll get a little bit more movement the second time you do it. So I come back over, and then you would open back up, trying to get some mobility through that spine right there, okay? And of course, you would want to open and do it on the other side, okay? But for the sake of the video, I won't bore you with that whole thing, okay? So another functional move when you're already down on the floor or laying on your bed, you're going to do a side lying push-up, okay? So this is where you have that hand forward right here. You have this hand is right in front of you. Now, heaven forbid you actually fall, okay? But in the event that you find yourself on the floor laying down in this position, we want to be able to get ourselves up. So we're going to use this hand, and you're going to push up. So you can just practice this. This arm is just laying here. It's not pushing. It's all this arm right here. These triceps, biceps are assisting a little bit, are pushing up and pushing up. So why would we need to do that? Because if we're down here laying like this, we need to be able to push up so that we can then get both hands underneath us. So now I've got both hands here. I can push myself all the way up to seated here. Then I might be able to crawl over to a chair or to the couch, or crawl to, you know, anywhere where I needed to go in the event that I couldn't actually stand. Or I can then, from this point, use the leverage in my upper body to be able to roll over to get on my hands and knees. Once I'm on my hands and knees, I can put one leg through and hopefully use that to be able to push up. Or I might even be able to tuck my toes. So if I tuck my toes right here, then I can push back so that I can then get my feet underneath me. So then right here, if I have enough strength in my legs, then I'm able to stand up, okay? So I know a lot of options there to show that, but the thing that I want you to remember, what I want you to practice is when you're laying in bed, using this arm. So we have this arm in front of us, we're just laying on our side, okay? You're gonna use this arm and just push up. Now you may not be able to push up very far. It might be just like this. But as you keep practicing this, I want you to try to get to where you can do 10 of these. It's called a sideline push-up, okay? So I want you to get to where you can do 10 of these push-ups on each side, okay? That's gonna strengthen those arms. Now remember, I gave you a assignment quite some time ago to do wall push-ups, right? Got the sun that's coming through the blinds. To do those wall push-ups. So a lot of you, if hopefully you've been doing that, should be progressing down to like the kitchen counter. Or if maybe you have like a bar stool, something that's a little lower, what you want to do is continue to lower that down, because that functional move of that push-up is what we need when we find ourselves on the floor or laying down in any way, just even laying in bed, to be able to have the strength in the core and those arms to be able to roll ourselves over, possibly pull our legs off to the side. So you could use a chair if you've been doing them on the kitchen counter. You feel like, hey, I'm really strong with that. I could do 30 of them on the kitchen counter. So then I want you to progress down lower, okay? So you could come to a chair. You just want to make sure that the chair is stable and isn't going to roll or slide. So I'm on carpet, so the chair's not going to move anywhere. But if you were somewhere like, say, on a wood floor or tile floor, you would want to set that chair up against the wall or something so it doesn't slide. You put your hands on either side of that chair and step back. So we're in that incline position, and then we can lower down and press up and down and press up, okay? That functional move of being able to push through that chest is what is going to help us in the event that we find ourselves on the floor, okay? Now, of course, nobody plans for that. We don't want to be down there, but as a side note of being able to have the strength to do that, so many other things that you'll be able to do as well that will keep you nice and healthy and nice and strong and able to be independent for as long as possible, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you, let's see, I think I just have these one other ones. Yes. Here's one. I was going to try to find something. You want to be able to stretch out and work your calf. My feet are too little. Some people, like my husband, has really big feet, so he can use the bottom rung on a chair to be able to push it, but see, my heel won't touch the floor, so this doesn't work for me. I have some weights, like this one's a little bit taller, but not quite tall enough to get that. If you have steps in your house, steps work really good because you can put your foot against that step and be able to stretch out through the arch of the foot as well as the back of the calf, okay? So just utilizing something to where you can get the leverage. A step, like on your curb, works perfect. It's the perfect height to be able to use that. So you put the ball of your foot kind of on the edge of the step so that the heel drops down and be able to get that good stretch. Another thing to use is to use a golf ball, a lacrosse ball, something like that that's pretty dense that you can put under the bottom of your foot. It's best if you can stand to put pressure on it, okay? When we're seated, we won't usually put very much pressure on that foot. If you can do it seated and apply a good amount of pressure, pressing through that leg to roll that ball underneath the bottom of your foot, then you can do that. But if you want to try and do it standing, again, you could hold on to a chair or hold on to the wall so that you could balance and roll that ball underneath the foot, okay? A lot of us start to deal with plantar fasciitis type of symptoms, but it's just a shortening of the muscles in the legs as we don't do as many exercises, or here's worse yet, a lot of people exercise and they tighten up those muscles and they never stretch them out, and so the muscles become shortened, which causes us to lose the range of motion. So when we're pointing and flexing, we can't do that very far because those muscles have shortened up, okay? So it's kind of like this. So these tendons run, if I use this band, it attaches under the ball of my foot. and it comes up and wraps around to the opposite side on the outside of my knee, okay? So if I have shortened that up and it's really tight, it's going to restrict that movement that I'm able to do of pointing and flexing. And those tendons, they come on either side of the foot. They attach like by the pinky toe and on the ball of the foot. They wrap underneath the foot and come up and come up either side of the outside of the leg. So it's very important that we stretch those out to keep them nice and healthy, okay? It's just like, I think I used the example of taffy before, right? If you just pull taffy really hard, what happens? It snaps. Now, your muscles aren't going to just snap. They can, but that takes a lot for that to do that. But what happens is that they just don't become very pliable and healthy. We kind of cause micro tears and things in them. But if we continually allow nice, even stretching, and especially if you do it once they're warm, like you can do it even after you've taken like a nice warm shower, a nice warm bath, having those muscles nice and warm, and then do those stretches. When you get up in the morning, your body's nice and toasty. You're all warm in your bed. It's a great time to be able to stretch some of those muscles out. You don't want to be up and about, and especially when it gets colder, have those muscles be really cold and then try stretching. You've got to do something to get that heart rate elevated, your body temperature elevated, so that those muscles are nice and warm before we do that. You can use a heating pad. So like on your feet, if you have issues with your feet, put your feet on a heating pad and then roll it on that golf ball or the lacrosse ball. You can find them even at Walmart now. I was checked at Walmart the other day and they actually carry the lacrosse ball. It's like $3.27 for the lacrosse ball. And it's good and hard because a tennis ball, especially if it's an older tennis ball, they tend to collapse. So you can't get as much pressure on it as you need to be able to roll out those things. And here's something you could do to test for that. So our hamstrings typically are very short, right? So when we want to bend over and touch the floor, a lot of us can't reach the floor, right? Some of us don't want to. Like I say, I have no desire to want to reach the floor. That's okay. But it's the fact that our hamstrings are long enough that we can reach down there. So I want you to test it. So say you come right here, and that's as far as you can go. You roll out underneath your feet. Do that for about 30 to 60 seconds on each foot. Then redo this test right here. And almost every single time you will be able to come down further. But you're like, I'm not stretching my hamstring. No, but those hamstrings attach all the way through. Remember that kinetic chain that I've talked about? It starts at the bottom of our feet, goes all the way up through the base of the skull, okay? Everything is interconnected. So if all of those tendons and ligaments underneath your feet are very tight, it is going to keep those hamstrings. Remember when I showed you where we have this band? So it's going to keep that from being able to lengthen very far. If I can warm them up and get them to lengthen out, then when I go to bend over, that length will happen, okay? Try it. Let me know how it goes, okay? All right, one other thing I want to show you here. So we've done it. We have the little ball, right? And we squeeze through the inner part of our legs, but we don't use the band just because most people don't have a band. And so I don't want to do a class for our live classes when, you know, over half of them don't have the apparatus that they need in order to do that. Now, this is not the band like we use in our Silver Sneakers class. This is a flat band. So it's like a big piece of rubber band, but it's nice and wide. The reason I use this for this particular exercise is it distributes the weight more evenly across your legs. Because what we're trying to do is create tension on the outside of the legs. So you're going to bring it across your legs. You grab on either side and pull it down, okay? So see how I've got tension right there. It wants to pull my legs together, okay? So you're going to pull the legs out. So we're working, can you lower tension? You're working to pull and engage the abductors. That is the muscles that run down the outside of the leg. You press out. So you notice my feet kind of roll onto the side. Hopefully you can see my feet. Let me scoot back a little bit. So as you roll out, you kind of roll up onto the side of your feet, okay? That keeps everything in a good neutral alignment. but you'll feel these muscles here on the outside of your leg working in order to press out, okay? So the ball that we put between our legs here, and we keep our feet underneath our knees so that we have good alignment, we're squeezing in, right? Remember that? So you can use a pillow, a ball, any kind of object that you can, squish between your legs. So that squeezing here works the adductors, adductors. On the outside, they're called abductors, abductors, okay? And so we have to have that resistance around the outside of those thighs to be able to roll out and press out to strengthen those outer thighs. So you'll notice I do stuff in class, and I believe actually, I don't know if we did it today in this classroom, I want it at Skyview, honestly, but when we do the lift, so you're doing that side lift, okay, that engages those abductors as well. So you can do the chair, so that's another good functional exercise. So as you stand up tall, and you just lift that leg to the side, keep the toes pointed forward, and you lift, and you can use the chair for stability. If you don't need it and you want to practice your balance, let go for one, and then maybe if you start to wobble, you can stabilize and then take it off again, okay? So that lifting that you do also works those abductors, okay? So it's working through a range of motion all the way down the kinetic chain, stabilizing through the knee joint and all the way down. You'll feel that right up here in your glute, okay? So very similar type of work, okay? But having the resistance and pushing out gives you more load, okay? And so that is something that's a good functional exercise, again, to be able to do. So I hope that you found these things helpful. If you have other issues that you're running across that maybe I didn't address here, shoot me a little message. You can send it on the page, and I can answer there because other people may have that question. Or if you don't want to do it there, you can always private message me, okay? You can do that anytime, and then I can do my best to try to help. Sometimes I have had a few where I've had to say, this is not safe for me to try to coach you without being there with you. But most of the time I can give you some kinds of exercises or stretches or things that that will be able to help with issues that you might be having with stuff. You know, simple arthritis, I don't know why these call it simple arthritis, because it's not ever simple, right? But if we have arthritis, especially as it gets colder, we just start to have issues, right? Our joints just kind of ache. Heat is the best thing, you know? I mean, if you need to take some pain relievers, I'm never going to tell anybody don't do that. I'm not a fan of them, and I try to, you know, use natural things. So there's topical stuff. I use BioFreeze or MaxFreeze are some of my favorites outside of a Chinese herbal mix that I got from an acupuncturist one time. But those you can apply topically, and it kind of creates heat. You know, using a hot shower, a hot bath with some Epsom salts, that works wonders as well when we're having arthritis pain or joint pain. But a lot of the time it's just doing some functional exercises. Doing foam rolling is another one. Maybe I'll do a whole video just on foam rolling, where I can show you some different things that you can do with that. I kind of mentioned it a little bit with the feet, but you can actually get what are called foam rollers. But again, if you don't have one of those, it's not helpful for you. But I will do a video, I'm not sure when, but because that is also very restorative. So if we're having issues with our hips, with that kyphosis in the back, various things, you can foam roll your entire body, and it works great. So anyways, I hope that you found these things helpful. Shoot me a little message, let me know if you did or not, if you have questions still, and I'm happy to answer. Again, it's Thanksgiving's next week, so I hope that you all are finding ways to connect, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.